Steffens, and Master Builder Hayden Hutchinson as we dive inside an incredible build and assemble it from the ground up. So, in the process of all of this, don't forget we've got some fun things happening extracurricularly this month. Behind them, you can see the brilliantly beautiful Lav computer. Now, that is our Lav Raw. It is an extraordinary machine full of lots of color and exciting, I was going to say ingredients, and then I realized that's not the word. Elements. There we go. Ingredients, stuff, and things. There you go. We've got a fun show. So, first of all, if you'd like to know more about the giveaway and see if you can get into it, all you got to do is type !GiveLab. There are special codes that you can get on this show, plus other places that'll give you extra entries. Those other places are our social media. That's YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter at CLX Gaming. Our Discord at discord.gg/CLX Gaming. And, of course, on my channel over with DJ BluePDX. All these places can help you potentially get your chance elevated to win that beautiful PC back there. Speaking of beautiful PCs, today we've got a new one that we're building in our brand new N7 case. Gentlemen, tell us what we're going to be shoving inside of this build.
All right, so we got a lot of good new stuff we're going in here. So we'll start off with the CPU. We've got a Ryzen 7 7800X 3D. We've got a CLX Quench 360 AIO that's going to be cooling that. For our motherboard, we've got a ASUS ROG Strix X670E-A gaming Wi-Fi, kind of a mouthful there. We've got 64 gigs of Kingston Fury DDR5 RGB memory, 5600 speed. For our OS drive, we've got a Samsung 990 2TB Pro. We've got a Western Digital 6TB storage drive, 4090 for our video card, 1000-watt fully modular power supply, 12 white fans, and all in, our beautiful white NV7 case. So we'll go ahead and grab this case right now. We've got it on a cart because it's a bigger one.
It's bigger than me?
Yeah.
Awesome. Beautiful. So the NV7 we first got to see over in Boston, Massachusetts for PAX East, and we had our first chance to really just look at the design. Paul and I spent a lot of time kind of wondering what would happen if we did a smoke or a fog test to see how those fans blew out. From this perspective, you can see one of the cool things about this is those lower fans are not flat. They are angled up against the glass, which provides two different things that are very special. It not only helps to aid cool the glass, which is receiving and dispensing heat from inside, it also is going to help circulate the air more efficiently. So between that and the incredible back door, which we'll talk about in a little bit, this case is amazing. It's brand new. You can get it right now on our website, and it only comes, well, it comes in this color right now, but I'm sure. I almost said hello Moose Party. It's Moss Party. Hi. Sorry. And of course, if you have any questions, about what you see on today's show, please make sure that you ask in chat. There's no such thing as a dumb question. All we've got are dumb answers. That's a joke.
That's right.
No, I think you're right, DJ.
Zombie Rain's in the house. Silent Beauty. So, gentlemen, obviously this is a little bit of a different case when it comes to taking it apart. What are some of the things to keep in mind when you're doing that?
Yeah, so it's a little bit similar design as far as top panel holding everything in, but everything else, is different. So the side panel, the glass panel, slides off like a traditional side panel, but you do have to have that top off. We've taken the back door off here.
You have to take it off in order.
So yeah, you got to take things off in order. This does have a back door that swivels and rotates. We've taken off. We can show that once we get it back on here, but this is the rear of the case. So you can see this is something that is new and haven't seen in a while. These are all the fingers for your cable management. So since we have a door here, our IO shield goes right here where my hands are, so there's a little bit of a recess in. So this is to mount all your keyboard, mice, any peripheral cables, anything you got going in there. You can run them organized this way, and then the door will cover it all, give it a real clean look. So yeah, and then
nice.
We're probably pulling that off. Yeah, we're pulling this side off. I'm gonna put this screw back in here, Hayden. Okay. So we've got a few screws that hold any side panels on top. We're taking them off and then putting them back in the holes they go. That way, when we put this thing together, we won't have to find these screws. And
Singers is in the house. How's it going?
This will be Hayden's first time building an NV7, which is pretty awesome. So get the raw experience here. Yeah, so this, we will get this off. We'll work on that in a little bit.
Kenzu's here. We got Toxic Rat is here, but with
Yeah.
the ADS. It doesn't just mean they're aiming down sights. It also could be advertising. There you go. You can always solve that, of course, on any Twitch channel by using your Amazon Prime code or your free monthly Amazon Prime, or just go ahead and sub to the channel. You get extra points if you sub to this channel, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
You didn't answer how is Mama Blue. She's doing better today, much better today. So for those of you who don't know, my mom has cancer, and it's the first week with. Last week was her first week having chemo, so she's actually doing great. As expected, she's a gangster, so she's killing it. It's awesome. All right, so first up, let's start by talking about we've got this unique processor going into this brilliant motherboard. So the ASUS ROG Strix X670E A gaming Wi-Fi ATX motherboard. This is a pretty advanced motherboard, and what it offers is also pretty incredible. But first, let's jump over and talk about this processor real fast. You've heard us talk about all the science behind it. This, of course, is going to be an AMD Ryzen 7 7800X 3D. Processor is really amazing because of the fact that it has one of the largest L3 caches out there, and it is a 90 for I would say commercial end users. With an L3 cache of 96 megs. Paul, what do we know about this processor?
Yeah, so this processor is getting really good reviews right now. I'm a big fan of it. I'm considering going to this, but this is a 8-core 16-thread processor. It's got a base speed of 4.2 gigahertz and a boost of 5.0. So pretty
nice.
Or sorry, 5.6.
There we go.
We've kind of been waiting
of course,
on this one for a bit, so it's nice to see this one.
Now, this is a unique processor, both for several different reasons, including how it connects. What is the difference between this processor and, say, alternative processors?
Yeah, so this is the AM5, which is the new AMD chipset. Now, AMD typically had pins on the bottom of the processor that would fit into the motherboard. Now when they went to AM5, they flipped it around, so our pins are on the motherboard, and I'm pulling this out here, I'll show you on camera. So the bottom of this processor is actually LAN, so there's no pins on this processor. So this will line up with our motherboard. We'll show that when Hayden installs this. So that's the biggest change here from the biggest visible change.
Nice. As for the motherboard, let's talk a little bit about this because it's incredible. Not only you can already see that LED side that's going to light up on the left-hand side above that Northbridge over the I/O shield. This has got a lot of various different heat shielding and cooling technologies on it, including multiple different heat sinks for all 4 of the potential M.2s. You got your North Bridge, your South Bridge. You've also got the famous button.
Oh yeah.
The button.
My favorite.
Button. It's amazing. Push the button.
And then, of course, obviously, you've got RAM, your processor spacing, all of the headers on it. It also comes with rear lighting, which is awesome. It's going to be part of that entire RGB element and feel to it.
Yeah, I like this board. It's going to match this case really well with the white fans and everything. It's just good design.
This board does take DDR5 RAM. It can go up to 6400 plus overclocked. It has a max, I believe, of 128 on it. Of the 4 M.2s, you've got 2 different PCIe 5s and then 2 different PCIe 4s. And I'm assuming we're going to be throwing that hard drive you mentioned earlier up in the very top.
Yes.
But first, Hayden, let's talk about the processor and different ways of handling this. What's the best way to approach installing an AMD processor into a board like this?
Well, once you get everything taken out, you want to find your arrow. If I can get a top shot. On the chip, there's that gold arrow.
Top left, yeah.
The top left. There's an arrow on the actual socket itself. And you can see, as Paul was saying, the pins are in the motherboard, so you can see all those gold pins when I turn it.
Yeah. Oh,
But
wow. Yeah, there you go. Great
I
shot.
don't know if it'll pick up on the actual arrow right here, but you just want to make sure that those are lined up, and then that will fall into place. And then it only can go in one way, so you know if you're doing it, correctly or not. So, and you just close your.
There you go. That's been called the pop and lock.
Yeah.
This motherboard was Justin Timberlake. It would be just fine. All right. Let's. Sorry.
No, it's good.
While we've got this here, before we start installing the back plate, let's take a look real quick at that I/O shield because I want people to see the kind of connectivity that we're going to be dealing with. It's a lot of fun. Also, notably, that we're still not allowing Hayden power tools unless it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah, they're banned. They're banned.
So
all right, let's pop that thing up on its spin.
Shield.
Okay.
So, as you can see, starting at the very top, we've got your HDMI and and of course my
Display
browser
port.
freezes. Hello. Good Lord.
HDMI and display port.
Yeah, it's just HDMI and display port. Sorry, I had this all up and ready to go, and then it decided to freak out.
Oh no.
Whoops. I am just out of... What is happening here? There we go. Connectivity. So it's got 8 USB 3.2 Gen 2 ports, as you can see, all right there. And now one of them is a Type-C, and those are all the reds. Now, the interesting thing about 3.2 Gen 2s is these are 10 gig per second ports, which is incredible. Absolutely amazing speed right there. You've got 2 USB 2 ports that are both Type A. One is marked for BIOS. One is just your standard USB right next to the clear CMOS and the BIOS flashback button. Down below that, we've got our Intel 2.5 gigabyte Ethernet port up above, also known as a Dragon port by some people. And then we've got 2 more ports. Now, these are hardcore. One of them is a USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A, which is a 5 gig port, and then one USB 3.2 Gen 2 by 2, which means you've got access to 20 gigs. That's 10 up and 10 down at the same time for that USB-C spot. Below that is our Wi-Fi 6E antennas, plus you've got an optical SPDIF out port and 5 audio jacks for complete and total surround sound. How awesome is that? That's pretty much all I got for that.
This thing's beautiful. I mean, having this many USB ports is awesome. Obviously, you stream
Possibilities
DJ.
are endless.
Yeah, having all your stuff be able to plug in is always great.
Like I've just on my streaming PC alone, based on the basic board, I do not have the high-end board on my streaming PC. I have 2. No, I have an entire 7 port Anchor USB hub on there, just because I can't fit everything in there, or what I can fit in there isn't long enough to get to where I need to go with a music studio back there. So it's like, So having a lot of ports, especially high-speed ports, is absolutely necessary. And the fact that you can really run so many different peripherals off of something like a 3.2 2x2 on that USB-C means you've got incredible speed and access, not only for servers, but for storage drives and anything else you might want to be connecting, but also moving.
Yeah, I'm running low on mine. My board's okay. I probably have like a mid-tier board in my system at home, and it's to the point now where if I want to plug in like an extra controller or something, I gotta unplug.
You got it all filled up?
I need some, yeah. I don't have a ton of slots, but I've got a lot of stuff plugged in that probably doesn't need to be. So I've got like a phone charger, the headset charger, keyboard,
Phone
mouse,
charger, you can just
2 webcams, all that stuff. Yeah. So. Yep. So we'll go ahead and start installing our liquid cooler hardware now. Now, something about this with these AM5 boards is the backplate already comes on this board. You saw the hardware we were taking off, but it's built into this board. Yeah. So also cool. We can show that black hole there printed on the bottom.
Hole.
The Rod Strix gaming hole, aka my basement.
I guess you could say, holy wow. All right.
So.
And then you take your black plastic stand off and your screw. It's going to be very hard to pick it up on camera, though.
Yeah. So these are going to screw in basically like there. It's kind of like the other AIO mounting hardware that you've seen us use before. This one is very easy to install, so I like that. You install these posts on here, then we'll put the pump on with the bracket, and yeah, we'll go from there.
Nice. All right, we'll get those all set in. Speaking of pumps, let's check that out. This is going to be cooled by a CLX Quench 360 closed liquid cooler. About a week and a half ago, we did our very first open loop here on the show. Lots of questions came in. It was a really good opportunity to take a look at something very different. But for those who might have missed that, can you walk me through what the difference is between a closed loop and open loop system, and what are the 3 different ways to cool a processor?
Yeah, so like you just mentioned, there's 3 different ways to cool your processor. Number 1 is going to be air cooling. Some processors come with a stock air cooler, basically a brick of metal with fins cut into it with a fan on top to take away that heat. So that's air cooling because you're cooling it with a fan. Then the other way is liquid cooling, and there's 2 ways to liquid cool. You can use an AIO, which is what we have here. AIO stands for all-in-one. This is also referred to as a closed loop system. And then you have an open loop system, which is like the one we built last week. That was awesome. So the differences are, this is closed loop because this comes out of the box ready to go. You install your mounting hardware. Yeah, it's got its own coolant already in here. We don't need to add anything to it. It's a closed loop. We are not opening it up. And an open loop is obviously the opposite. We install the components, get everything set, and then we actually fill it up with fluid, get the air out. Sometimes have to add more to it before it's all the way full. And so those are the differences there.
Lord Moore wants to know which AM5 have they gone for, and they are going to be putting in an AMD Ryzen 7 7800X 3D processor. We did have a good question coming in from Zombie Rain. It's regarding the giveaway, and this is going to be an Ivory-based question, I believe. It says, if the winner wanted the PC overclocked, would you be able to?
Yeah, if we get
that is a question I do not have an answer for.
It's definitely something we can do if we get the approval to. We will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Overclocking is a really good feature that we do offer here.
It is.
Lets you get an overclock system under warranty as well, so that's always good.
And you can also upgrade your thermal paste, which gives it just a little bit of an extra oomph to its cooling capacity. Speaking of which, what are we putting on this processor today?
So we have some Arctic Silver 5 here. This is a really good thermal paste. This is what we use mostly for our systems here. We do have an upgraded thermal paste that you can opt for. And right now what we're using for that is Thermal Grizzly Cryonaut. It is a really high performing thermal paste. There's a few good ones out there top of the line. This is definitely one of them. So, but this Arctic Silver 5 is great.
We have a question coming in from Gamer Noob 1987, and Gamer Noob, first of all, don't be sorry. Absolutely incredibly good question, and there are no, again, I say this every time that somebody's like, I don't know if I should ask. Please ask the questions. Remember, if somebody hadn't made the suggestion at a board meeting that we should make a movie about sharks in a tornado, well, there wouldn't have been $1 billion made on one of the worst and most ridiculously funny series I've ever seen in my life. So the question is, what does overclocking mean?
So overclocking is like your processor has a clock speed. It runs at a frequency in which it processes. Your video card does as well. So overclocking is where you take the clock of that, whatever it is, most likely the CPU, and you push it past what it came from the factory as. So you're making the clock go over the factory setting. So essentially what that does is allow you to get more boost out of your processor, more performance. So that can directly affect your gaming performance there. Overclocking was something back in the day that was kind of scary to do because you didn't want to like brick your CPU. If you send too much voltage to it, you know, you could fry it. It's definitely something you want to be careful on, but there's a lot of ways that you can do it. And really what we do here is when we overclock, we baby step it up. We go like, you know, a 0.1 gigahertz, maybe even less than that, and increase test and just like baby step it up as high as we can go. That still gives you a stable system. You can max your processor out overclocking, and then when you get into a gaming environment, it crashes because it's not stable. So that's really the whole process of overclocking is pushing it past its limits and then trying to get it like meet that middle ground of keeping it stable.
That's actually what
gotcha. That's an excellent explanation. Also, Zombie Rain said. No, I'm sorry. Subject asked, there's no way Sharknado did that well. Out of 5 films, Sharknado currently is valued at $4.5 billion in profit for that franchise.
Billion with a B?
Billion with a B.
Oh,
clearly, it's popular.
I mean, it's flooding out into all a bunch of other stuff. Like
and Sharknado 5 had a $5 million budget. That's it. That's why it was so cheeseball. And despite that, it made $787 million profit.
Jeez.
Like, what? Wow. All right. So that being said, let's go ahead and move on to the next part. It looks like we're going to be putting in the cooling.
Yeah, so we're going to mount our AIO. We got our thermal paste on there, our mounting hardware installed. So you can see Hayden's just lining up the holes on this bracket with the posts he installed. There is a wire you can see out there on the bottom left that we'll be plugging in. Right now he's putting the top screws on to secure the pump to the CPU. And then we'll plug in that wire, that cable that's out there at the bottom left. That is our. Yeah, we're gonna kind of hide it. What we like to do to make it look clean is wrap it around that mounting hardware. You'll see once he gets in there. This does need to be plugged into your CPU fan header / AIO header. A lot of these new boards, they assume you're gonna be liquid cooling, so it's not even labeled CPU fan anymore. It'll just be pump fan or something like that. And the reason why you want to plug it in there is because that header is actually going to regulate voltage going to it based on the temperature of your system.
Oh, okay.
So it technically would work. If you just plugged into like a chassis fan header on here, it would operate, but it's not going to speed up or slow down based on what your system needs. It's just going to run at one speed the whole time, which is obviously not what you want.
Alrighty. No.
This one actually has CPU fan and an AIO.
Oh, it's got CPU fan and AIO. Okay, that's cool.
But
All right. Now, with regards to, I know there's a discussion happening in there about overclocking. Is overclocking something that can be done individually?
like individually,
Like, can you yourself, can just anybody
yes. Yeah.
Oh,
overclock
yeah.
something?
Yeah.
You
Are
just
there
go to the
tools built
BIOS.
into the
So-
BIOSes and stuff?
Yeah. The most common way to overclock is to get into your BIOS, and you can change actually how much voltage is going to your processor. You can also change the frequency there as well. Now, once you start upgrading that frequency and boosting up that frequency, that's once you get past a certain point, that's when you start need to be sending more voltage to it to make it more stable. Obviously, sending more voltage to it is going to make it hotter, and that's where you get into finding the balance between performance, temperature, and stability.
And some applications have overclocking features, like NZXT's CAM application. You can overclock in there without going about your BIOS, but
Okay, yeah.
that's just
All right.
Nice.
So I think we'll go to our M.2
All right.
next.
little RAM.
Let's definitely take a look at this
RAM
because
next?
this is
Sorry,
one of my
DJ, RAM
favorite M.2s. Oh, RAM next. All right,
your
let's
RAM.
go with that.
totally wrong.
So, totaling out as I'm with 64 gigs of RAM. All right, we got two 32 gig sticks of Kingston DDR5 5600, which is awesome.
Yeah, we've been
There we
using
go.
this RAM a lot for our DDR5 builds. They've been performing great. Very stable. Haven't had any issues really with this Kingston memory.
been pretty good.
It's been very good.
There we go.
Now we'll go to our M.2. Man, I feel bad ripping this box. This is such a brand new thing.
Yeah, you
Oops.
it's fine.
It's just going in the trash anyways.
Yeah, we all do it.
All right, we'll drop that down, and once we get those installed, the new M.2, let's talk about that. That is a Samsung 990 Pro 2280 NVMe M.2. It's 2 terabytes in size, which is incredible. So as we're looking at this and where it goes in, what's the process of making sure you get this installed correctly and properly?
Okay, so you have a little groove. You can see that. And there is a little plastic piece, like almost, under the silver piece. You want to line that up. So if I were to do this and put it in, it wouldn't line up, so it wouldn't click into place. It only goes in one way. So you click it in, and as we've been seeing on a lot of these motherboards, we have this swivel arm, and that just swivels over and holds it in place, and then you just put your heat shield on. Make sure you take your plastic off your thermal pad. But yeah.
Yeah, making them really easy to install with those swivel arms, not having to mess around with a tiny M.2 screw is really great.
of companies are doing that now, which I like.
Nice. All righty. One thing that's really cool about these is the fact that there's so many different opportunities to put M.2s in there. So total of 4 spots. Good question coming in from, where'd it go? We have from Gamer Noob says, here's a random question about DDR4 versus 5. Is DDR4 still good, or is it the norm to go with 5 nowadays?
Yeah, that's a good question. DDR4 is still great.
Yeah, it's really good.
DDR5 has really, I mean, it's started to be around for, I don't know, a few months now, maybe even a little bit longer, honestly. Yeah, it's, for me, DDR5 is still new. It's still at that leading edge. So if you've got DDR4, you know, you don't need to upgrade or anything like that. It's doing great.
I think it's when it starts becoming the minimum
requirements. Yeah. So and that'll be a long time. But if you are building a new PC, you know, and you can go with DDR5, do it. It's really fast memory. If you have DDR5 right now, you're not going to need to worry about RAM for a very long time.
Do not go DDR3. That's too much.
Don't do some DDR3. I don't know if you could find a board for that. I mean, I'm sure you could, but it'd probably be pretty expensive. Sometimes those older boards, the price goes way up on them as time goes by. So yeah,
that's the ultimate gaming machine. I think.
Like I've got DDR4 in my system. I'm not planning on upgrading anytime soon.
I have DDR4. I'm staying.
Yeah, I might upgrade my processor, but I'm gonna stick with DDR4 for a while. So.
I'm still on 10th gen.
Still on 10th gen. I'm on 11th gen. So,
yeah, I'm not.
Nice. We also have a question coming in. Is it possible to lock the clock on an unlocked Ryzen? Mine's overclocked to 4.6, which is max while gaming. That's a good question, Zombie.
So to lock the clock, I'm assuming, does that mean you want it to stay at 4.9 and just never adjust? There is ways to do that.
You can lock the speed.
Yeah, you can set your speed. It's kind of the same process as overclocking. Maybe you're not necessarily overclocking it, but you're setting your processor to only run at that frequency, and that is something that you can do.
It will never go under, so that's the good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any disadvantages to having that set in that manner?
So the disadvantages would be if you're just browsing the web or something like that, your processor is going to be running at that speed if you have it locked in, so it's going to be consuming more power. Now, if it's not overclocked and your cooling solution's fine, it's not really damaging your processor. You're just using a little bit more power than you need at that moment. So not any huge disadvantages or anything, but something that might add up over time.
Gotcha.
But if you're primarily gaming, then yeah, then not really any disadvantages to that.
If you're doing an open loop system and you overclock, that's the way to go.
There you go.
The temperatures are very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I think, do you want to put fans on the AIO?
Fans.
Okay, we'll do fans on the AIO first. And then
now,
we'll
one of the cool things about this case is that it has such an extraordinary cooling environment for it. So we've, instead of our normal 10, we've got 12 AMD AEOLUS M2 RGB fans that are all white framed. They're going to be going on first onto the radiator and then around the case. And there's a multitude of ways to cool this thing down. So let's go ahead and start by talking about the fans, why it's important that the fans are being utilized in this way, pushing, pulling, and all of that fun stuff.
Yeah, so we're about to be mounting these fans onto our radiator, and we're going to be mounting them in a way that they are pushing air through the radiator. So this would be the push method of installing fans on the radiator. You have push, pull, and then the mixture of both push, pull. So if you're in what you want to do, if you're just doing the standard fans on one side of your radiator, you want to be pushing air through. In some cases when you're building, you might be in a situation where you have to have them in the pull method. That's okay too. It'll still function fine. You just get a little bit better cooling by pushing air through. Now, if you have the room in your budget to have extra fans and also extra room in your case, you can do the push-pull method, which is fans on both sides, and you do see a good cooling performance increase by doing that. It's not very common, but it is something, you know, that we do every now and then.
Nice. All right, so we're getting those on there. When it comes to cable management, everybody's kind of got a different approach to these. I know that Zach's got his way. Hayden, how do you really look at the cable management when it comes to getting your first 3 attached to the radiator?
Well, getting it on the radiator is pretty normal. It's looking at the case. I'll point it out once we get to it. At the top of this case, at the top of all the X's, something like that. Phanteks mainly. There's like a slot, like a hole cut out that you can route your fans up through. So what I will do is I'll pinch my cables together in a way to where it's perfectly lined up with that hole. And that's what I'm going to do with this, is where I'm going to make it to where these cables will, once it's up in the case, it'll be able just to go through that hole just fine. And yeah, it just depends on case mainly.
There we go. Nice. And I really do like the fact that this has got a black PCB on the motherboard. It's very Stormtrooper-esque in that sense that it is balanced between, it is a very white and black build with some splashes of color with the LED, which we saw on our build last week, which was really great because you really got to see how those lights work in favor of, I would say, enhancing the beauty of the build.
Yeah, it does. It's a nice balance of both. And even like the white fans on the black radiator, it was kind of maybe a little strange at first, but I like it, honestly.
That's how mine is at home.
Yeah.
I have a black,
white fans on a black radiator.
Because back when I bought my, my NZXT Kraken, they didn't have white.
Yeah, white wasn't so common.
Now it's an option.
Yeah, now we're seeing white just kind of all over the place. I mean, just even having white fans, white memory is a thing now. I mean, that's always kind of been a thing, but we're seeing it a little bit more.
Honestly, I think the white RAM is so awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of those things where it's like, but it's so hard to find and so rare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Corsair makes some good, nice white.
Yeah, Kingston gave us that white memory for that giveaway build a couple months ago too,
mm-hmm.
which was really
yeah,
cool.
It was
I really like the heat spreaders
cool.
on there too. All right, so Hayden is tying those cables together, kind of like what you're talking about. I think the idea too, at least when I'm building these, is to kind of make those 3 cables into 1 cable. A little bit easier to manage that way. And then we'll be mounting our motherboard into the case. So.
All right, get that big bad boy up there. Now, what we've got in this position, can you point out the standoffs? Because this has got, again, it's a standard 3x3x3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we've got our, this is obviously an ATX board. Technically, it's an eATX board, so it's a little bit longer. But we have our standoffs here. Now, what they've done with this case, the white version at least, is all the hardware is silver, as you'll notice. So it kind of blends in a little better than black hardware, which is a nice touch, honestly.
Yeah.
So kudos to Phanteks on that. But you can see our standoffs here. So like you said, we've got 3 in the top, 3 in the middle, and 3 in the bottom. So that's what we're going to be setting our motherboard on. And then once we get it on there, you'll see the holes that we're putting the screws in. So our motherboard's actually going to mount to these standoffs, and it won't be touching the bottom of this case. And that's why those standoffs are there, so that we don't short out our motherboard by just laying it on a piece of metal.
Absolutely. Yep. All right, so we'll get this popped in there.
Now the first thing you want to do when you're mounting this is, the first thing you're looking at is lining up your I/O shield with the port there on the back. And then everything else just kind of falls into place from there.
I will say there's a lot of room to work with. Like, I was able to lay my AIO down.
Oh yeah.
Without having to hang it out of the case.
That is nice.
By the way, for those of you who did not notice, there's an unlimited code in chat. It's LAVG5NN. That's Grant 5 Nightmare Ninnies. Yeah. Nothing I said is appropriate.
I'm just going to see I/O shield for this is white. That's built in. It looks really nice installed right here.
Yeah. I'm still trying to come up with a better run than G5NN. Like, got 5 nanonutrients.
That's good.
Again, sometimes these are hard, sometimes they're easy. I did one last week for them that really kind of messed with people's heads. It was kind of hilarious, I thought. But
you were going on these making stories.
I did pieces of sentences. Yeah. Yes. What up, Astro dude? How you doing? Yeah, me trying to figure out codes on the fly. Me trying to come up with code, like sentences on the fly at the beginning of a stream. Like, my streams are always just like, brain fart. Get 5 neuro nanites. Yes.
Neuro nanites.
Yes. As opposed to nerf nanites.
Or nerve nanites.
Or just nerf nannies.
Or that.
Yep. Toxic Rat says the code should be LAV-Toxic Rat as the winner. I feel like that's too many letters. I have no idea why every time I sit in this chair I start yawning. It is only this chair.
Something about it.
Like, this has become my Papazon. So I used to have a, you know, the Papazon's a big wicker bowl, you know?
Oh,
you sit down in.
Yeah, yeah. I did not know that's what they were called, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, there's a Papazon, which is a circular one, and a Mamazon, which is the couch version. It's like oblong. So I used to call that the 9-minute chair because it didn't matter how hyped I was, how caffeinated I was, nothing. If I sat down in that chair, I was out in 9 minutes. It didn't matter what the conditions were. It doesn't matter if in the middle of a party I sat down, I was dead to the world. I would just pass out. No clue why. Not one clue whatsoever. Now, I do notice you've got some cables coming out of the top, but this is also part of the design when it comes to all things NV7s.
Yeah, yeah. So those are the 3 fan cables that we were mentioning earlier that are attached to this AIO here.
Like enough.
There we go.
Thank you.
So how we're installing this radiator, we got one in the top left corner if you're looking at it from my perspective, then we do one in the bottom right, and now it's secured up there, so now we'll install the rest of the screws there.
I'm just trying to get the radiator and the fans centered, so when I get those bottom fans in, they just will be perfectly lined up.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll look real nice.
Nice. So obviously a little bit of a different design than anything that we've got by Leon Lee. So what are some big advantages you've noted, or at least things that you enjoy about this case comparatively when it comes to cable management, Hayden?
About the case, I love all the panels. And going to the actual tie-up, there's a lot of room back here. There's a lot of room back here under all those doors. So I'll be able to have everything in there and not have anything crammed up, and it'll be really, really nice.
Yeah, we were showing when Zach was building the other one, it was like these posts that you could wrap your 24-pin around and stuff. It's really cool. There's a lot of stuff you can do within these doors. It's funny when the system's done, you're looking at it and you're like, oh, I got all this other room for stuff. So it's very, yeah, it's just a very good case. I've said it, I mean, I said it on the past shows, but I am thinking about switching over to this.
I thought about it when I first saw it.
I have a question. Joshim asks, any code yet? Joe, I'm just wondering if there's a chance that you may have looked at chat anytime in the recent past. And I only ask that because it is pinned there. And they just gave it out. It is LAVG5NN Gargantuan 5, not new.
There's another one.
I'm really trying to think of an NN, and I can't.
can't.
I have been. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I have been trying to think of one for the past few minutes here, and I can't come up with anything.
Unless it's maybe 99. What up? Liquid Death's in the house. Speaking of...
That is a tasty beverage.
Is it?
I don't know. I've never had Liquid Death.
It's just water.
Yeah, it looks cool.
Good water?
Like their marketing is good. It makes me. I'm like, I want to try it. It's just a can of water, but I like what they're doing.
But I like cans.
I like cans too. You're right, but it was just a little out on my budget.
It's a little pricey.
There we go.
All right,
like
Liquid
what they're
Death, if you
doing.
want to send us some water,
Yeah, there we go. Me and Hayden will take some.
I will take some water.
Radical, you're hilarious. Okay.
All right, so really cool part of this case here. One of the things that obviously stands out among all the other cases is our rear exhaust fans. We got room for 2, which is the first time I've ever seen 2 exhaust fans ever in a case. So it was cool. And something else, once you get that in there, oh, sorry, DJ. I want to point out this too. Once we, can I show them real quick now, Hayden? So Something that's pretty unique about this case, obviously, like we mentioned, you can get 2 rear fans, these ones in the back, that we've got 1 installed here. We've got room for 2. But if you needed this area or wanted this area, sorry, let me get it out a little different. If you wanted this area in your case where you see this fan is, you can mount your fans on the inside in between the door here on this side.
What the heck? That's awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely, you know, it's probably more recommended to have it on the inside here, but if you needed this space for like an AIO or something else you were wanting to use, you could mount your fan on the inside, which is pretty cool. Just something I want to point out.
Wow, everybody's coming up with some great ones in here. Grant 5 new needs, got 5 new neighbors. Great ideas, people. Great ideas.
Better than anything I could have thought of.
Okay. So again, we've got a total of 12 fans. Now, these are not the only places these fans are going to go. We've also got a really interesting array of 4 fans that are going to be going on the back.
Yes, so you can see that kind of mesh covering there. From your guys' perspective, looking at the front of this case, it's on the right side. There you go, yeah, just to the right of the motherboard right there. You can see that mesh there. Now this panel stays on, our power buttons are up there. And what goes in there, I've got this right here. This is for our fan mount. So we will mount our fans to this, and then this will slide in here on the inside. I'm not gonna clip it in all the way because Hayden's still working in there, but slides in and then pops in. So it looks like it's mounted to the back of this mesh, but it's in this thing that you can just pop out really easily. So
nice.
And we'll do 4 fans on this.
So, subject asks what kind of gaming chair or chair in general might be rocking. It looks for. So honestly, I have a Herman Miller.
Nice chair.
So let's. This is the Herman. There it is. The Herman Miller Logitech chair. This is also known as the. Oh my God, and I've forgotten the name of it.
That's nice.
It's their new gaming chair. Damn. It is, so they used to have the Embody, and that was the first one they designed, and then they went with it, and this is called wow, I am just lost at the moment for words. I can't believe I've forgotten the name of it. But anyways, the thing I love about this chair is that it's fully adjustable, and in that sense of it's not designed with a headrest that goes for the back of your head. It's designed with a headrest that's going for the back of your neck to support your neck. So when you lean back, yeah.
Protect your neck.
Listen, I was rolling a bungee cord office chair from Office Depot from the 90s because my other chair broke and died, and I was like, well, because I had just an office chair, and then I sat on that thing, but the bungee cords, because it was so old, the bungee cords started to slack out, so I had to put pillows underneath the bungee cords. I had to put blankets behind me so I could actually, it was just ridiculous, and I would always walk out with there with marks on the bottom of my legs every time I would get up off of it. It was hilarious. So I was in a meeting with Logitech, and the Herman Miller people were there, and I got up to run upstairs to answer the door for something, and I came back, and they're all doing this in the Zoom call. What the hell are you sitting on? I had to explain it to them, and yeah. So they sent me a Herman Miller, and I was I'm very happy with it. This thing is, it's ridiculous.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, and it does everything from tension for leaning back to fully leaning back and arms that go forward, back, and upside down. Bizarre but fun. Alrighty. So now we've got that bottom tray. Now this is going to be going on the bottom or the back?
The bottom.
Bottom. So this is the one that will be at an angle.
And did you know, if you don't want it at an angle, you can flip it.
That's right. Yeah, you can.
You can
yep.
flatten
You can
it.
have it. Make it flat.
I like the angle.
Yeah, I do too. I think the angle's the way to go. You can see all those kind of grooves in the sides on the left and right side there. Those aren't just for design to make it look cool. Those are actually so you can fit bigger fans in there. So you'll see Hayden lining up the holes that he's going to use. For 120 fans, we can kind of use those interchangeably. but this can fit 140 mil fans in the bottom.
Nice, which is even just that much more. Also, this is called a Herman Miller Phantom. It's like Phantom, but with a V. Sliding down V. There we go.
No nonsense. There's something. You could change that.
No
change that into something.
nonsense.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
There we go. Oh, yeah. The Grand 5 No Nonsense Tournament. Here we go. Now, one cool thing about this that we've mentioned before, which is great, is the angle at which this sits in the bottom of the case. Paul, why is this important, and how does this alter or change the way that the system cools down?
Yeah, so that angle does a couple things. So that's obviously our intake that's there on the bottom. So the first thing, if we can go to the front shot real quick, Jason. So something I want to point out with the front shot, obviously with that being angled, you can see the bottom of our case is angled as well. So on the back side here, we have all this extra room to bring fresh air in. So having those fans at an angle, it's going to suck air in a little bit better than if it was flat. Now the other thing is also those fans are going to be blowing air out, and they're going to be hitting the side panel and coming up here to our radiator. So it's going to be getting fresh air to our GPU, which will be mounted about right here, and fresh air to our AIO.
Gotcha. And I like that because it is helping to cool the glass down by you know, rotating that air in and out, which is awesome. Let's see here. We've got. Oh, you have the GT of the GT racing chair. Nice, Uchu. GG. And also for those of you, I did find out it's called the Phantom. Again, let's see here. Yes, I hadn't given it to me. I don't know if I would have gotten it. I was thinking about rotating to a yoga ball, you know, but I sit a lot lower than I would like to on a yoga ball.
That's how you get some abs right there.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if that's
true. A full workout while gaming. Oh,
there was like a couple month-long stretch here where I moved my office chair into being a yoga ball. Do you remember that, Hayden?
Tell me about it.
So when I was out in the warehouse, I had a yoga ball because I was having back issues, and so I heard, okay, I'll just sit on a yoga ball, strengthen up my core, and you know, fix my back. But turns out that's kind of exhausting.
Turns out it's not the way to go.
Yeah, I'm sure it works. I just couldn't stick to it.
Yeah. It's well, especially if you're I was gonna bring that same thing up, Jamie. So Game of Thrones says don't play horror games on a yoga ball. Talk about occupational hazard. Yes, you jump backwards and it slides out from underneath your butt and you are unconscious on the floor while you've got things screaming at you. When you come out of your momentary daze, you're gonna be even more terrified than you were before you fell over.
Yeah. That would be a thing too.
Yeah.
I'd come in the next day and my ball had like rolling away. I'm like, oh, let me go get that.
Floor's not even.
Yeah, right.
Or it's deflated. You have to pump it back up.
I did have the pump. Yeah, I had a little foot pump
That's
for
funny.
it. Now the guy who puts my tattoos on, he has a yoga ball chair, but it's like set in a thing with a backrest and everything. So it's like a frame for a chair.
I've seen those.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that looks cool. That looks comfy.
So yeah, they're very interesting. You can pick them up for like, I want to say around $100 or so.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, it's a little. You can get them on rolling stands or whatnots, and they've got a little bit for the lower back just in case you need it. But it's nothing like super high up because you want to make sure that when you're sitting, you're sitting straight up. You're being conscious of your body's form, and of course, when you're sitting on a yoga ball, it just kind of forces you into that, which is nice. It's like the old tractor seats. I know this sounds bizarre, but if you look at really old, like turn of the century, 20s, 30s, 40s, the steel tractor seats, the way that they're designed is you sit down on them and they will force your hips to rotate slightly forward. So the small of your back is actually in a curve. Because you think about the first thing that you do when you're stressed out is you fight or flight. You curl up into a ball or, you know, and so notice when you're driving that usually it's not the small of your back is not going in. It's usually out because you're pushing back into the seat to try and, you know.
Yeah.
And so that's what you get uncomfortable. That's why you get a lot of back pain while driving.
My wife's car has this, like, I think it's like an air bladder in the lower back of the driver's seat that you can press a button like when you're moving the seat and it will like fill up and you can feel it. It's really nice for long drives. You can like get that support and kind of push your lower back in a little bit. It's nice.
Yeah.
Bump out.
Yeah, yeah, I like
That
it.
lumbar support's very, very helpful.
Lumbar support, that's what it is.
Yeah. Irony is that I used to be a massage therapist and occupational therapist back in the day. All right. Next up, it's more fans.
More fans. All right, so these are the four
Now,
fans that are going on the side. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. So I have a question about 4 fans. We carry obviously 120s, 240s, and 360s. Is there such a thing as a 480 when it comes to radiators?
Yes.
Yes, so that is a very big radiator.
But they're usually used for open loops.
Yep, usually used in the open loop application.
Got it.
And they're ginormous.
They are some big boys.
Right? You're going to have people mounting their builds on a 1936 John Deere. Irony. That was the first vehicle I ever learned to work on. My parents had it was a late teens, early 20s tractor. It was, the big giant wheels in the back and the 2 little ones in the front and it was all, it was all rack and pinion steering. There was nothing, but it was, it's a very basic design, but that thing had power. It had some real push to it, but that's how I learned to drive, was on one of those. And that's the first time I ever took apart like a carburetor or anything like that, was on that tractor.
Nice.
Fun fact, none of that's applicable because nothing designed presently had anything to do with the thing that I took apart. I think it was more my dad just feeling the need to occupy my time, so I stopped asking stupid questions.
Yeah, get out.
And
Take
trust
this
me,
engine
I
apart,
can
put it
ask
back
some
together.
pretty stupid questions.
Don't talk to me till it's done. That'll keep you busy.
Yep. Like that time I went and tried to learn how to use homemade stilts.
Oh,
First of all, there are many different ways to cause bodily injury. One of them is to basically use 2x4s and then try and strap them to your legs so that you don't have to use your arms and do this constantly. Yeah, that did not work out well. That did not work out well for anybody aside from the gravel, which definitely claimed its first blood prize of the day, because that was the first time I went face down into the gravel, which was awesome. Said no one ever. I don't know why I'm telling you all this. No idea. Sorry.
I like it.
Stop sharing, DJ.
We're just
How many stills to the ER? Yes.
we're just
No,
here listening.
ironically, I didn't go to the ER back then because, we were country. We don't need no stinking
the
ER.
ER was our neighbor.
We have Band-Aids and Bactine, a little bit of Bacitracin, and we're fine. Fine. First vehicle you ever drove was a 1927 John Deere. Nice. Yeah, it could tear a house down, man. The torque on those things, especially with those big, giant, thick, ridged tires in the back. Yeah, that thing was a beast. It was designed to, I think, pull plows, like field plows. So, but all right, what's up next, guys? We've got this 4-stack fan. Now, I see you playing already. You got your zip ties. What are some things to keep in mind when you're doing a 480 versus a 360?
Well, obviously, we have 4 fans instead of 3 now. And on this case, I have about 3 different cutouts that I can route these fans. I'm going to route all of them. Now you can't see from the shot. I'm going to route all of them through the middle slot.
the front. We can go there. Yeah, so we got a few options. You can see this main hole right here. This is what Hayden's talking about. This one right here. That's where our fan wires will be going.
Nice.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to touch it there, Hayden.
No, you're fine.
So
Super.
this part just slides in, so you line
There
it
we
up.
go.
There it goes.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
maybe.
looks so
No,
easy.
it won't fall.
It won't fall. Oh yeah, we
It's
got the
caught.
radiator there.
It needs to be screwed in though. I will let you do that.
Alrighty. So this whole tray is mounted with a screw on the top here. Now I remember doing this with Zach last time, and I struggled with this.
I think it clicks in, no?
I thought it might.
Right.
God, that scares me every time. I'm
It's,
like, it's full.
it's an excellent point. Gamer Noob says, you're dying? No, you're good. Have some candy. Yeah, exactly. If a bone wasn't technically visible and you could still walk it off, you just rub some dirt on it and call it a day. Yeah. Is this so? Good question, Toxic Rack. Toxic wants to know if this is considered a full or mid tower.
So that is a good question. I'm going to rotate this real quick and I'll answer this question. So this on the side of the box, it will say that this is a mid tower. However, inside the manual, it will say it's a full tower.
Yeah.
Now, I would definitely call this a full tower. That's definitely what it is to me. Having 2 exhaust fans is pretty big. This is a very tall case as well, so yeah, I would say it's a full tower.
I think that clicks in.
There we go. Well, I think like we can't fit 4 tall fans in any of the other towers, so I would assume it's definitely got to be a full.
Mm-hmm.
They might be on the wrong side.
Okay.
It's gonna bother me.
Uh-oh, what's going to bother you?
This was just a little off, this fan mount here. So we're gonna pull this out. Let me see, yeah, so these go in to the slot. There we go. So
right,
let's
we'll
go
take the
ahead and
radiator
drop
out.
that. If you want to, you could just do that screw, I think. And maybe we'll just drop the radiator.
Honestly, we might be able to just scooch it over.
That sounds good too.
Alrighty.
So we should have put this fan light installed first. Yeah, let's go ahead and just drop it.
It's my first time, guys.
Yeah, learning.
5 fans in a full tower. 5 fans are not 5 fans full tower. That would be I think that's a gigantic tower.
Take it out.
It's huge.
Yeah, this case to me is like deceivingly tall. When you first see it, you're like, oh, okay, it's a normal size case, no big deal. And then when you get up next to it, you start building, you're like, oh, this case is actually really big. There we go.
Yeah, well, and it's huge. Like, it's
is
a very tall case. I remember
It
when
is.
we saw that at PAX, we were thinking like, this is exceedingly large, but at the same time, the amount that you can fit in there and the amount of space you have to work in there also means you've got a greater flow for air.
Mm-hmm.
So
exactly, yeah.
And I drank way too much coffee way too fast. So
I could use some coffee.
all right, we're getting all that top on there.
All right, so we got our 4 stack of fans there in the back. Now we're screwing in our
Nice.
radiator again. We'll might as well just get all those screws in. Let me grab this and just look at this for a little bit.
Now, as far as filters on this machine go, I do see something in the back there, that
Yeah.
little flange. Maybe it's a good spot to pull that out and tell people about that.
For sure. So what we've got here, you can see this little tab. This is our air filter for our main intake here at the bottom. This just pulls out. I've got a nice, this is actually a really fine mesh filter too. It's even hard to see the screen when I'm holding this up to the camera. It almost looks like nothing's there. But there actually is, you know, a mesh element there. That's what that is. Really easy to install. Just slides in the tray. Slide it back in.
And Paul, while I run for a quick bio break for a second, can explain how that filtration works and also what the best places to put that PC on, since it does have an elevated rear and a good space in between there for airflow.
Yeah. So why this one is very important down here. This is going to be our main intake for the machine. So we like to have our filters on our intake sections because that's obviously where you're sucking air in. It's a little bit less important on the exhaust side. So that's why that is there. Now going into where you should set your PC, my PC's in my basement at home on carpet. So anytime you're setting a machine on carpet, it's obviously going to sink into the carpet a little bit, and then that carpet's going to stick up. So what you want to do, and what I've done, is I've cut out a rectangle of cardboard and just set my machine on top of that. You can do that with wood, tile, anything like that, any hard surface that's going to compress the carpet so that you maintain this gap here that you can see for your PC to get fresh air in. So that's my advice for that. So now we've got our chassis fans installed. All of them are in there, huh, Hayden? Mm-hmm. So you can see we've got 12. We've got 3 in the bottom, 3 at the top, 4 here, and 2 in the rear. So that is a lot of fans to do on this build. So
be nice and cool.
Yeah. All right, what do you want to do next? You want to start running some of the cables and all that? And then we'll start on some more components.
What I'll probably do is route all my fans, plug them in.
All the fans, yeah.
And then we'll go from there.
Okay, so we're going to rotate this way so we can watch Hayden plug in the fans. I mean, if you've watched the show before, you've seen us use these fan controllers. Each fan controller here can plug in 8 fans. So since we have 12, we're going to have to daisy chain them together. So these fans come with a cable that you actually can daisy chain them together, and that way they function off the same remote, all synced up. So we're going to fill up one with 8 fans, and then the next controller will have 4 fans on it for the remaining 4 from the 12.
There we go. Nice. I'm back, by the way. Thank you, and sorry about that. As far as codes go, listen, you've got to exceed quality limits with whatever you're doing. It's an EQLW code. Here we go. EQLW. Equal long ways. Or EQ low wind. The code is a lie. It's not a lie. Codes are awesome. All right.
Cake is a lie.
That is also true. And again, these, did you cover, each of these boxes have 8 options for it, and you just daisy chain it? Cool.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure if I missed that, and
Very good. That's what Hayden's doing. You can see right there, actually, this shot. He plugged in those cables. Sometimes we have those prepped pre-show, but yeah, we're doing these right here. We like to wrap those cables kind of somewhat around, or at least put them in a nice configuration, and then we zip tie those boxes together, and that way we have essentially just one piece we're plugging our fans into. A lot easier to work with that way. With this case, we've got plenty of cable management area to store both of those being next to each other. If you're in a tight situation and you have a brick like this, sometimes you want to put them side by side so that your side panels can go on easy.
Toxic Rat is over here. It's, everybody's making sentences now. I love it. It says, equal quacks lick walkways. Only if you're shopping at Walmart. I mean, let's be fair, we've all seen it.
Oh yeah. Man, I avoid
Everyone
Walmart
quits
now.
loving work. I don't know.
Walmart was the spot to go
I
to as a kid. You go there, get your neck all stiff and cranked up from staring up at the PlayStation screen or whatever, and it was a good time. And now you go in there, you're like, get me out of here. That's at least that's how I feel about Walmart now.
It is an entertaining journey of experiencing every last trope of dysfunctional familial engagement. It's a hot mess over there sometimes. Oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. All right. Now, one thing I would like to know that I would like to point out is that Phanteks has this really great thing with all the little straps. Notice that?
Yeah, we've got our white Velcro straps here.
Now, this is not the... Yeah. And this is not the only case that they do this on. They also do this on their Evolve case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Evolve, the P400, a lot of their cases now are seeing it. So the P400 is more of a mid-tower, definitely smaller than this.
Yeah,
P300 is even smaller. Yeah, G500 is same size as the Evolve, a little bit different look. And then you have the P200, which is the tiny boy. And all those have those Velcro straps. I think the P200 has 1 up there by the power supply, maybe 2. So, but yeah, these Velcro straps are really nice. You don't necessarily need them for your cable management, but it's a really way to put like the nice finishing touch on them. So you can manage all your cables under those straps, and then when you're done, strap them over, and then they look real nice and neat. We'll obviously show that here at the end. Oh man.
Nice.
Just wire that bad boy in right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Did
Toys
that
R
come
Us,
like
yes,
that?
was a place for kids to
come
actually
like
go
that?
wild.
I guess so. I wasn't paying attention.
Man.
Okay.
Good thing I've got one for you right here.
Thanks, Paul.
So, we ran into a little
fun
issue.
little issue.
Uh-oh, what happened?
The connector came off of a fan.
You see it?
So-
There's
Oh,
no connector on it. We have to wire it in ourselves.
Yeah. So we're going to get our soldering iron out and go ahead and start soldering this to the control box. Just
Wait,
kidding.
what?
I've got an extra fan here.
Ser-
We're gonna be
Oh, I was
playing
gonna say, like, is that a thing we can do on
It'd be
stream?
funny.
Yeah,
We,
I mean, you
we
could,
start,
but, you know.
we start talking about a story about a soldering iron, but it turned out just to be a code drop.
Uh-huh.
Pull
Oh,
DJ.
Right?
yeah,
Somebody
yeah.
broke it.
That'd be great.
Yes.
I was doing some upside down soldering in my house the other week.
Why are
So-
you upside? Well, first off,
I'll explain.
Because you were bored or looking for a challenge?
I'm not, I'm trying to do some home repairs myself. So our kitchen has these, like, the
Got it.
lights in our kitchen are like LED panels now. Like, it's like
wow.
a circular
Yeah.
panel. There's no light bulb,
Can
but they're all
lights.
wired in. Kind of like a can light, yeah, but it's like just a circular thing of LEDs. Well, it started going out, but when I pushed up on it, it would come back on. So I thought, okay, it was just a loose solder joint on there. I would like press the solder joint and they would come back on.
Like a
So
pressure.
I didn't want to like undo the wires from the house. So I was like, I'll just upside down solder this above me. And I made a huge mess and it still doesn't work. So
All
I'll have
that
to
mess
figure
for
that out. Yeah.
that's work.
Yeah, it looks like I burned the crap out of it, but
That's funny.
it worked for a little bit and then it went off. So maybe it wasn't even the problem, but yeah.
Why does that come out of my paycheck? I didn't do it. I wasn't even there. Didn't touch it. It's not me. All right.
Okay.
Okay, got that fixed.
All right. Fan swap complied. with.
Perfect. See, super cheesy, super easy. Part of the ship, part of the crew.
Oh man,
Also
I
that.
see,
That's
see a
true.
Toys R Us in chat. That Toys R Us was the spot too. Going
Oh,
to
yeah.
Pokemon
Yep.
League on Saturdays. I only ever went to one, and I just assumed it
Oh,
was
yeah,
easy to
dude.
play Pokemon, and I went in there not knowing any of the rules at all, so I just lost in the Pokemon game.
Yeah, I don't know what
Oh,
I'm doing.
no.
Cool.
Funko Land. My friend
I don't know what
used to
Funko
run
Land
security for Funko.
Interesting. I haven't heard of that.
For their corporate headquarters are up in Seattle.
Okay.
Cool.
Kirkland, I think.
You guys
Funkos?
ever,
Yeah.
Remember a place called like Discovery Zone? I think it was like a kids party place. Bunch of just like a giant play place. I don't know if it was a local thing or a nationwide thing, but it was cool. It is one of those things that died.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so all of the fans are plugged in.
Kind of like,
And it looks like a mess right now.
Yeah. We will clean that up.
alrighty.
So fans are plugged in. Next
Obviously
thing
lots
that's
of-
probably going to happen
Yep.
is the case cables, right, Hayden? We're going to go
Yeah.
to that.
Well, first, actually, I'm gonna tie up this section, just so
Okay.
it's not in my face,
Sure.
and
Okay.
then I'll go in into the rest of the cables.
DZ? Okay, yes, good. I'm glad I'm not the only one. Gamer Noob knows DZ.
Yes. Okay. Getting those final back panels on. Now, those doors are also something really fun to look at. Let's talk about the functions of those doors, Hayden.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it holds your SSD, so you can put your SSD in here.
Yeah, you can fit a 2.5-inch drive there.
Yeah.
And then those posts
Nice.
we'll show a little bit later. You can wrap your cables around those posts, and that way you can hide all your slack in there and not have to worry about.
Yeah. Oh, it is not an issue. Nice. Okay, getting that all wrapped up and put in there. Coming up a little later today, you're going to be taking some time with Hayden while he continues the building spree after we take our little break. That's not happening for a bit.
I'm going to go ahead and start opening up our power supply, DJ, and getting those cables sorted.
Power supply, let's talk about that. That's going to be a 1,000-watt Phanteks Amp Series 80+ gold power supply. That thing looks incredible. Tell me, what's cool about this power supply?
All right, so number one thing I like about this power supply is that it is on theme with the color. So this is a white power supply. It is fully modular, and I believe it has some other cables included. We'll see here. We've obviously got cables included, but I was looking for one specifically, but I don't think it's in here. So this is a fully modular power supply, 80+ gold. So that refers to the efficiency rating of this. I'm going to go ahead and get it out of its bag. So what fully modular means is that this is your power supply here. It's this brick, no cables are soldered in. It is fully modular. So any cables that we want to use for this build, we will take out of the cable bag that they include and plug them in ourselves. So I'm going to take this kind of label off here, and you can see these ports. Now I'll try to get the angle right on the camera, but there we go. You can see it's got some text printed on these, and that is outlining these ports and what they are used for. So we've obviously got our motherboard 24-pin, CPU, video cards, SATAs, Molexes, all that good stuff. If we're lucky, we even have a floppy disk connector in here.
I use those all the time.
We will see. But yeah, I love this. This is also a Phanteks power supply, so staying on theme with the case as well. I'm going to peel some of this plastic off. And the cables that are for this are white as well. I'll get those out next.
Okay. Now, those aren't custom. Those just came with the power supply.
Mm-hmm. Yep, so this being a fully modular power supply, these are all the cables that come with it. Fully modular power supply is going to come with a ton of cables, yeah. And we're not going to use all of them. That's what's nice about the modular part. So we're only going to use the cables that we need to plug in for this system, and the rest will be sent along with the accessories. So just right off the bat, I'm obviously going to grab our 24-pin. Obviously, you're going to need that. This board has two CPU 8-pin headers, so we're going to grab those. I'll probably give those to Hayden now, assuming you want to run these before we get in there.
Yep.
So that is another perk of a modular power supply, is Hayden can plug these CPU cables into the board, route them out the back without the power supply even being in it. So
it's really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
We've got some video card cables here, our 24-pin, and then we've got our SATAs and Molexes in here, and I'll keep my eye out for a floppy disk cable. Maybe we're witnessing the end of an era here if this doesn't have it.
They just finally did it.
Yeah.
They realized no one was using them.
That era, I guess, has been over for a while. I do not see one. Oh my goodness.
Again, I do want to point out the great connectivity for this case, all the different ports, all the different bays, and all the different holes it has to make sure you're feeding everything through in a cohesive and conducive manner. Liquid Death says floppy disk is what makes me feel really old. Yes. What makes me feel old is the fact that there were two floppies. There was the soft floppies and hard floppies. I remember both of them. Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever even seen one in person.
Dang. That's what's wrong with this generation.
Yeah. No, it's just that technology is not needed anymore.
Yeah.
That's the
I don't know the soft ones, I don't think. I think they were always hard for me. And that metal bar would slide over. You could slide over and snap it.
Oh no, these were big, flat, wafer-looking things. They were absurd. If you crinkled it, it was dead forever. A lot of people currently know the hard floppies as the save icon for 90% of things.
Oh, that thing? No, I know what you mean.
Hayden, quit it.
Oh God.
You want your 24 pin?
Yeah. Wow.
Okay. I believe I'm not sure. Can you get it in without popping those off? Oh, yeah.
I think you can.
Yeah, cassettes as hard drives. Yep. Reel to reel. Zip drives. Yeah, I remember those.
We do still see some
And there was
tape
the book
drives,
drives.
actually.
Why in
crazy.
the actual heck is that even a thing?
It's a good question. Some customers have like servers that that's their system, so they got tape drives. You can get a 500 gig.
You got to
tape
be
drive.
kidding me.
It is a thing. I didn't know what
Yeah, but
it
it's
was.
got to be.
when
We
I
got to
first
run
started.
so slow.
Yeah, it has to be. I don't know what it's used for or anything like that, but yep, they definitely are a thing. RDX.
Yep. Gamer Noob says, when I was in college, the flash drives were just becoming a thing. You graduated in 2010. There you go. Book drives? Yeah, remember the book drives? They had, Western Digital had, they were called books. But they were hard drives. They were external hard drives that just stood up next to each other, and they looked like books with little buttons in the middle.
Oh.
And I will say I have never had a product fail more times in a row than those, which is why they don't make them anymore.
Interesting.
They were also super huge too, like, you know. All they really were was a poorly cooled extraordinary external housing for a 3.5-inch platter drive. So if it fell over, or you shook it, you moved it around, guess what? It died quickly.
Oh no. That's what I was gonna ask. Was it like the platters, the spinning platters, and all that? So.
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Right was saved to an 8 megabyte PlayStation card, which is also equally hilarious. All right. Getting closer. What's up next, guys?
Probably
My
power
books,
supply.
that's what they were
Power
called.
supply. Alrighty, there you go.
All right. We'll get that in there.
Probably needed.
Now, this power supply is going to be pulling air in from the back and from the rear and pushing it out the side panel. Let's take a look at the back of the actual panel so they can see where that second vent is, because there's one that goes right along where the other 4 fans are. But then there's an extra, I would say, mesh spot next to where the power supply is.
Yeah, so you can see that hole that you can see Hayden's face through right now. That is where
Hello.
our power supply is going to be mounted. Now, there's going to actually be a couple panels here. So this one is going to sit obviously on the back here, and you can see this mesh section right here, and that's what our power supply is going to be sucking air in from. It's going to be bringing air through the panel on the back and then shooting out the back out this hole.
There we go. Now, obviously, Hayden, you must have hooked up all the things to the motherboard first and brought them around back so they can be connected. Is that the easiest way to approach that?
Yeah. If you don't, I mean, it might just be a little harder when you have the power supply cables all in your face. I like to plug them in first.
I guess while you're doing that, I'll get our video card out. We can figure out how many power cables we need for it.
How you got them?
You got them? Okay. 3?
Yeah.
3 for these?
Ooh,
So you can,
look at that.
On this power supply, you can only have
We have a
3.
PNY
So we have to use it.
RTX 4090.
Oh yes, the
Excellent.
beast right here. One day I'll have
All
one of
right,
these.
what makes this stand out and so cool?
So this is obviously just the top of the line video card right now. Got a 4090 here. I believe it's 24 gigs of memory on this
insane.
thing.
You'll never
Crazy.
have to upgrade.
It's more than the hard drive in my first computer. All on the video card.
That's wild.
So this is a big video card here. I'll go ahead and get this out of its plastic. So enjoy some of the AMSR right here.
So much plastic, so much wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I still have my original Nintendo Entertainment System and my original PlayStation 1 somewhere in a box.
Oh,
somewhere.
yeah.
I have the faintest idea where they are.
Yeah, I've got an original NES that my aunt had that she gave to me. Still works. Got the first Mario with Duck Hunt. Got a couple.
Yep.
I don't even know what else games. Obviously got Tetris. Got a couple like Exodus games, some biblical video games, you know. So, yeah.
Yeah. So subject says, when you say gigs of memory, how does that work? I thought the CPU was just a unit to make things in games look pretty, but the bigger the series, the better and stronger it is. So yes, can you explain how this thing has 25 or 24 gigs of space on it? Maybe that means we should take a look at the breakdown version.
Yes, for sure. That's a good point. So yeah, that's our VRAM. V stands for video. Video memory is what it is. So this allows you to process that information on your video card so it's not taking away from your storage. But we will show you exactly what that looks like right now. So
Top of the line GPU over here.
Yep, yeah, top of the line here. It's going to compete with our 4090 pretty well. This is a EVGA GeForce GTX 1050 Ti SSC. That means super clock.
Yeah, super.
So we've got this right here. Now, before I open this up to show you guys, what I want to point out on this 4090 is the length of this card. So this is obviously a big card here, right? It's a 3 slot, maybe even a 3.5 slot. But I want to look at our PCB, which is kind of this orangish, yellowish line you can see right here. That's our actual PCB, our actual board that everything is mounted to, and everything else is extra. So you can see our backplate's a little bit longer. If I hold this up, you can kind of see through it. You can see my hand in between these fins if I get it at the right angle, and that's just to deal with the heat. So I'm pointing that out so that when we look at our 1050 Ti, you can see the PCB on it as well is a little bit shorter than the length of this, and it's actually about the same size of PCB as on our 4090. The 4090 is obviously a little bit longer. So I've taken the screws out of this so we can pull the fans off and show you what this video card actually looks like underneath all the fans and the heat sinks. So this comes off. This is obviously the main bulk of our video card. It's our heat pipes. You can see our copper heat pipes, our thermal paste, and obviously our fans on the other side. And this is your GPU. So you can see that chip that's obviously got the thermal paste on it. That's your actual GPU itself. And then these are RAM chips all around this. Now on this card, it has 4 gigs of RAM. We've got 4 memory chips. So we know that these are 1 gig memory chips each. Obviously these can be any size on this 4090. I'm sure it's got a few chips. I doubt it has 24 individuals. But that's what's under this 4090. So if I was to take this heat shroud off, it's going to be the same size as this right here. Obviously the PCB is going to be a little bit longer, but it's just this thin. And this is really showing you what a video card is, and how big it is basically just to deal with the heat that this thing can generate.
Yeah. Which is wild to think they get that hot.
Mm-hmm.
If we can ever do an open loop, that we like actually block the GPU, we can show how that's actually done.
We can do that. So when we do open loops, if we are doing a loop on our GPU, the one we did last week was just a CPU loop, so our GPU still has the standard cooler. If we are doing a loop on our GPU, we actually have to take the heat shroud off. So when we get one of these on the show, we can show that with like a 4090 and really show you what that looks like underneath the shroud and what we attach
really
to
cool.
it. It is really cool.
It's funny how it's...
And we got to see one of those actually at PAX in Boston. We had one right next to us.
Yeah, we did.
And it was fascinating. Paul and I kept wandering by looking at it like, how did this work?
Yeah, we were just shipping out an Elite today, one of the dual loops that Hayden had done, and one of our guys that's newer kind of walked by. He's like, man, that video card is tiny. Why did the customer get such a small card for this build? I was like, no, that's a 4090. It's just tiny because all this big fan shroud is off and it's got its own block. So pretty cool.
Toxic Rat says, I remember when SVGA was the best graphics setting you could get. Also true. Remember back when it was all monochrome.
Monochrome.
So, yep, monochromatic. It's just the green screen. Looks like the Matrix, only less fun. Okay, getting all those cables over there.
The dongle.
Right, so
Now, this
we'll be using this
noticeably is going to have to use the black dongle, correct?
Yes.
one. Yes, it is.
All right, get that set up there. And of course, those all feed right into the back, so still very well being hidden.
Yep.
And this will fold down underneath that card, right?
Yes, correct. It'll be underneath and a little bit to the side, but mainly underneath of the card.
Zombie Rain says, who knows why Solitaire was included in Windows originally? It's because it took so long to process anything or even open a website that you needed to have something to do to bide your time.
Yes.
And that's also a joke. I haven't the faintest idea.
Solitaire, there's hearts.
Spider.
And there's even pinball. The pinball game was pretty cool.
Spider.
Spider.
That was Windows
Spider
7.
Solitaire.
It was, that was on Windows 7.
That's right. I forget how to play Spider Solitaire. I did learn hearts that way, though.
Yep. Let's see here. Okay. What you running up to? What are you running into at the moment?
There is a pin that's the tiniest bit out of place. So it's making it to where when I go to plug in the cable, it just won't go all the way in.
All right, we'll get that all fixed. Zombie says, close. It was to teach people how to use a mouse after DOS. Interesting story about the mouse that I remember this all correctly from way back in the day. Is that because obviously the first mouse GUI, the first mouse-based graphic user interface was created by Apple. Ironically. And from what if I remember this correctly, something to do with Microsoft offered to buy it, to just buy the rights to the GUI interface, and they said no, but we'll lease it to you. We'll take a percentage of every OS that you every copy of the OS that you sell with a mouse interface. And so every time you bought a PC, both sides were making money. And then the touch screens came out, which means they didn't have to do anything because it wasn't designed with a mouse interface.
Interesting.
Like honestly, it's brilliant. It's a brilliant little racket.
You need to have a good idea and then make everybody else pay you for it.
Yep. I have an idea. It's going to make me a lot of money. I'm going to just have people not be stupid.
I like
then they have to pay me for people to not be stupid. And to be honest, I have a feeling like that is not going to last at all. I'm going to be broke forever. There will never be. There will always be an onslaught of people who have just continued to amaze me with their choices. Now, you just sprayed something on that rag. Tell me, what have you got on there?
So I've got some electronics cleaner. There's a little smudge on this from my finger. I just want to get this card looking clean. This is blow-off brand electronics cleaner. This is what we use. It's safe to use around all the computer components. This is what we use typically for our panels on the outside, but you can obviously use it to clean off anything on the inside. So just trying to make sure this thing looks great.
I have one that's over in my DJ area that I use. Yeah.
It also smells
when it comes to any type of when it comes to spraying anything to clean your unit, please make sure that you're not spraying it directly on the components. You want to spray that onto a rag, apply it there. You don't want it dripping, but just slightly moist.
Ooh, you got away with it. I shouldn't have
said that word.
There you go.
I just realized I said it after it came out of my mouth, and I was like, damn it, I'm not supposed to say that word. But you... did I?
Or else it'll be moist.
I did say clean your unit. Dang it. Damn. All right. Sorry. My brain is off in 7 other directions at the moment. So, one really cool thing I can't wait for you all to see, for those of you who've never seen this case turned on, is how much color this is going to have. And of course, your initial thought is, this is going to be, meh, it's all white. Man, the colors just shine real bright. Now, I do have a question about the airflow situation with those tall rear 4 fan stacks. Is there a vent directly behind them? How does that work?
Yeah, so there is a mesh panel cut out behind it right here. We'll obviously show that once we get all the panels back on and turned around. And that's how these go. So these are 4 extra
because it's separate, isn't it?
fans. So this is actually, the mesh panel is built into this part of the case. You can take this out. It does require quite a bit of extra work to get it out. So we're not taking that out. So we don't, these fans are mounted to a tray that we popped out, just like the bottom here, which is really convenient.
In temperances, I don't understand the problem with that word. I'm like, listen, not everybody. Offense was taken by certain people who thought their cake was dry, and it became a big fight with bakers, and that's why bakers. I'm trying to make this up as I go along, and I just kind of lost track, and it's just not happening. So we're just gonna roll on from it. Especially, yeah, there we go. Oh, ever like accidentally move your foot and then I put my whole chair down? There we go. All right. It's one of those days, people. It's one of those days. Welcome to Tuesday.
All right, so we are really, Hayden's finishing up the cable management here in the back, and once this is done, we'll just plug in our video card and be throwing panels on. So we are almost there.
One thing to chat about. Do we already? Yeah, but I want to show everybody how they can get their hands on this ridiculously awesome case. At CLXgaming.com, we try and make it as easy as possible for you to get your hands on the perfect build that meets your needs and fits your brand. You can head on over and choose how to build your PC in whatever size or design you want, whether it's a small ITX or whether you're going with a full ATX or even an epically large Elite build. You have all of the options right here. You can choose from your processor to your GPU, your motherboard, your RAM, and you don't have to worry about being an expert while doing so. Our state-of-the-art system is designed to show you exactly what compatible components will be. And if you choose something that's not necessarily compatible in the process, don't worry, that little green button will turn to yellow. It'll say solve conflicts. By clicking that, it's going to tell you your options. You can either choose to change this thing or choose to change that thing. It'll give you the options of the things that will clear that error so that all of your components are functioning before it goes to testing, which is great. Now, it doesn't mean that that's the only way you can build a computer. We have hundreds of pre-built, ready-to-ship models that are already looking for a home or an office to live in. So if you'd like a special edition, special design, special colors, those are all available there as well. And you can find all of this information at CLXgaming.com. So head on over to CLXgaming.com right now and step up your game for the future. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-bum. Did that one fine. All right. One thing I don't know if we talked about this, or maybe you talked about it while I was on a momentary bio break, was the Western Digital.
Yes, yeah, we've got our 6 terabyte hard drive.
Yep, 6 terabyte, 3.5-inch Western Digital hard drive. I don't know if we talked about the installation of that. Has it already gone? Oh, it has not gone in. All right, so there's that sitting right there. Now that's a lot of terabytes. What kind of speed does a 6 terabyte hard drive have?
So this is going to be a 5400 RPM speed. That refers to how fast the platters are going to rotate in here, which is how fast the hard drive goes. Once you get into these higher capacities on hard drives, they go to that 5400 RPM, and that's just due to how much information can be on here. So this will be a great storage drive. Obviously 6 terabytes, it's a whole lot of room for games or whatever else you need to put on here.
Well, plus the 2 for the operating system, because we've got that the Samsung 990 Pro. So that's a total of 8 gigs on this device. You love how my voice sounds official. That's awesome. Please do. Yes, you can finance with Affirm if you are looking to get something updated and you want to be able to put it on a payment plan. Yes, Affirm does process that. You'll just need to apply through them and work your magic. Because I only think that that's how credit cards work, is magic.
Magic and wizards.
Yeah.
So that's going to mount to this panel right here. You can see this panel.
Cool.
We've got a bunch of holes that come pre-drilled, and it's very hard to see on camera, but they've actually printed out next to the hole HDD and SSD. We'll try to get it here on our overhead shot. When you're ready, Jason.
There we go.
Um,
There we go. Oh, nice. I see. It's got its own door and everything.
Yep, it's got its own hinges. This will fold in. We'll show this here. But yeah, you can see HDD and SSD, and that's obviously hard disk drive and solid state drive.
Yes. BlackRock Wednesday mentions credit cards are like free money, right? Absolutely not. That is an opportunity for you to be fiscally responsible and plan ahead for things that you might need to incorporate or do. But what you definitely don't want to do is just leave it unsuspectingly alone, because you'll be surprised what might or might not happen. Yeah. Would anybody like some free debt to go with that? Yes.
Yes,
I'll take a, yeah. It's like a debt taco.
Oh yeah.
Those are always
It's fun when you use it. It's fun when you eat it, but then eventually it comes back on you.
A debt taco.
You're gonna pay for it one way or the other. Free debt, get your free debt, yeah. But the upside is you get to actually, with the firm, you can actually pay for something that's gonna be part of your productivity and part of your design, part of how you have fun.
And I know a lot of people
yeah.
get 0% financing for, you know, a period of time with that too.
Yeah, I had my ID stolen several times, which was awful. At one point, somebody tried buying a yacht.
Oh my.
Really?
Yep, got all the way down to the last two payments, then defaulted. Then turns out it was part of I don't know. It was a whole long story, but I was like, well, I mean, if somebody pays off the final two payments, can I have it since technically it's in my name? They said, yeah, except for it's part of a fraud investigation, so no. Like, oh, but how much would I owe? $23,000. What?
That's easy.
For a yacht?
No.
For
That's
a
a
yacht?
good price
What?
for a yacht. I'll go in.
That was
on
the last two payments. This was like a 1 point. This thing was worth a fortune. I had no idea how or why they did what they did, but yeah.
But they did.
In the meantime,
It's like, what is this? A yacht for ants?
well, I couldn't figure. Well, I did until then. Then everything went sideways, and Equifax couldn't figure out who the hell I was.
Once you get that in, we'll rotate this case a little bit so we can show you this hard drive. I think I got it in there all right. Do I have it in there all right, Hayden? Just got to get around these.
I think you do. It's me trying to get it in.
Yeah. There we go. Perfect. So we're lining up these hinges, the spots here. There we go. So you can see our hard drive sitting on that door, and then this will tuck up in there and screw in. Hayden's just checking his cables out right now. It does have a cutout for your cables if you do want to use that. You don't need to use them. It's up to you, Hayden. Honestly, it probably looks pretty good if we don't have to, depending on your SATA cable. There we go.
Should be fine.
Nice.
So yeah, this will just close up in there and disappear. I won't even be able to see this, honestly, once it's all closed up.
There we go. And I'm excited because he's about to also. Oh, there we go. Oops. So what's the big struggle with this space?
It's more or less just the SATA connector, like the unused SATA connector.
Mm-hmm.
They're in my way. I'm just trying to find a way to avoid them. Which actually, this.
There we go. Have a little panel for them.
Is what that's for.
Yep. So you can see that door Hayden popped out from the shot. This is actually, you can do that and then have your cables under it. And then it's a nice spot to hide your cables as well.
So I can get it back.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So please keep in mind that when you do take this apart, if you get one and you have to take it apart, take a picture of the cable management and how it's in there, how it's inserted, how it's been laid out. You really want to make sure that you are keeping that all in order. Your phone, take a picture. That way you can always put it back the way that you found it.
Mm-hmm. Dang, that is so clean. Oh yeah, that's a great shot, Jason. So yeah, all of that is contained right here. Everything that you just saw is all right in this panel. See, obviously our white SATA power for our hard drive, and then the black SATA power is plugged in here for data.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
Makes the cable management super clean.
Yeah. Alrighty.
All right.
Nice.
So now we'll go to our video card here.
Now this video card is going to be big. Here's a question for you, because obviously we've got a 4090. These are very heavy cards. What kind of an anti-sag bracket are we going to be using for this?
Yeah, so this case actually comes with one.
Comes with their own.
That we will be using. So I'll get that out here. This will... Yep, this will mount to this case panel. We'll show you once Hayden gets these out.
There we go. Now, to walk me through how this works on this case. This case is kind of unique with these.
Yeah, so essentially what we're doing is installing an arm for the GPU to rest on the, if you're looking inside the case, on the right side. So that's what we're doing here. So this piece will, this piece is going to screw into here, and our video card will rest on top of it.
Nice. And why is that important to make sure that you've got an anti-sag on the larger, more heavier cards?
So on these big cards, there's obviously a lot of weight to them with their cooling heat sink on them, and that will cause the card to kind of sag down a little bit on this side. I'm exaggerating it in my hand just to show you. But that can cause damage to your motherboard, that PCIe slot, or damage to your card as well. So that's why you want to have this in here. And now when we ship these, we will also have some packing foam that gets, it's in a self-contained bag. You pop one side and mix it, and it will auto-form around everything, all the empty space inside the case to hold it there in the shipping process as well.
Cool. Alrighty. Vertical mount when? That's a good question.
We did it last week.
We did one last week.
Origami.
We did it last week.
Yeah, we did do one last week. It's Honey Buns. Welcome to the show. Let's see here. No yacht for DJ. Yes, no, that's also true. So would you try to buy an RV on your credit? Yes, also that. Yeah, this too thick. It's a great case. The more that I look at this case, the more impressed I am with it and its design, just its general state of being. The one thing that I do miss, obviously, because I've got a ton of, well, I've got to get a universal port for it, because I was thinking I was going to use the hot swap bays on the Leon Lee to pull the data off my other stuff, but then I started realizing all of those are SCSI drives, so it's not going to work. Oh yeah, these drives are from my original production PCs that are all pre-SATA. Yep. So, yeah, I know. Everybody's like, what the hell is a SCSI drive? Good question. For those of you who are not sure what a SCSI or an SCSI drive is, Paul, how would you describe a SCSI drive?
So SCSI drive, if I remember correctly, it was back when you had, it was a really long ribbon cable that connected into them. These motherboards used to come with these cables that were probably about that wide. One side was a different color to show you where pin 1 is, and then you could chain them together with those. You had like the master slave and all that stuff with those drives. That was back in the day stuff. Oh, I'm thinking of IDE. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Jeez, yeah, I'm not even going far enough back. So, yeah,
So
some
IDE was the
old
big
stuff.
flat ribbon, the gray one. Yeah, and you had the big fat 4-pin power plug that had to be plugged into the right thing, because if you did your power plugs differently and they weren't assigned right, the whole thing was a pain in the ass. Oh my gosh. Yeah, life and technology have gotten simpler. I will definitely say that, and it's much to the advantage of everybody else.
That mount is
All right, so
really cool.
we can show you this mount now. So it's 2 pieces that come together. You can see Hayden's got that in there. So it's got thumb screws that you can tighten down, kind of like a set screw. So you can raise it up and lower it, and then this arm actually extends and retracts based on the length of your video card. So we're obviously going to leave it loose now until we get our video card in, and then we can adjust that bracket to fit the video card we're putting in.
Perfect. Perfect.
Might be easier.
All right.
Lay it
Yeah, that is a
down.
big, that is a thick one. So is that going to be a 3 or 2, 3, or 4? It looks like a 3.
This is a 3.
But it might be a little larger than a 3.
Three and a
Three,
half.
three
It is
and
a
a
3,
half.
okay.
It sticks out. The heat shield sticks out a little bit. So yeah, I'd say 3.5 slot here.
There we go.
All right.
Now, real quick before you put that other one on there, let's point out the wonderful joy of joys, the thing that every builder loves, and that is the button.
Oh yeah. Got a clear button here. That's for disconnecting this clip right here, which locks your video card in. So instead of having to get your finger down there and push that tab down, or get kind of sketchy with it and use a flat tip screwdriver or something like that, you can just press that button and that clip will release and you can pull your video card out.
Yep. Super smart. It's a really brilliant design on that level. Yeah, the thing is a beast. The card is this whole setup is going to be incredible.
There we go.
This is a big card.
Yeah.
There we go. Get that all up in there. Any best practices for making sure that you haven't pulled that cable for the graphics card tight or too tight? If that's even possible.
Yeah, so you can kind of see the rubber tape around this card. We'll show it to you here in just a sec. We're making sure we're getting our power cables out of the way of our fans here.
I can pull some more if I need.
But there's basically it's like a tape / mesh panel coming out of what goes into the video card. And we don't want to get too much of a bend in there. So that's what that is.
Yeah.
I think we should. Here, let's lay it back down. Hayden.
Now, when you're attaching that anti-sag bracket, what are some things to consider?
So the big thing you want to consider is just the length of your card and where it's going to be resting at. So I'm going to put another zip tie on this. Where you got your zip ties at? Right down here. Here we go. So zip tying this power connector here. Getting this out of the way of our video card fan.
Gotcha. Yes, because you don't want that to touch. That will sound horrific.
Yeah,
Sound
it'll
horrible.
be scary. It'll sound like our PC is breaking, and we don't want that on this beautiful machine.
It's exploding!
So, now that we've got that, we will go back to our GPU brace here.
Ta-da!
And
Okay.
oops, sorry, man. So what we're looking for is obviously the length right here of this card. Now this arm is gonna come in and come out like this. So we're gonna obviously mount this down here. We don't want any of these pads touching the fan. So you can see right here when I go to spin this fan, we don't hear anything, and that's what we want to hear. So we're gonna put a screw in right here on this hole that you see, and then we'll get this tightened down to the right height. And then we will tighten this screw that you can kind of see, and that'll be the length of this right here. So I'll let Hayden finish that up so you can have a good feel of that. And then we're good to throw panels on and turn this beast on.
Nice.
Now that you're finishing up on this,
There we
Hayden,
go.
how do you think the first NV7 went for you?
I think it went pretty
Yeah.
smoothly.
Good question.
Any other?
I really like it, honestly.
It's a really good case. It is
I
a
just-
lot to work with.
All right, if they made a smaller one,
Yeah, I bet we'll
I
see an NV5.
yeah,
I bet we'll
NV5.
see a smaller NV5.
If they made a smaller one, I would honestly buy it. I really like it. It just, for me, it would tower over me on top
Yeah.
of my desk.
For sure.
But I love the way it looks, honestly.
Alrighty, well, we'll pick this thing up. We're good to go. We will throw the panels on. And get this thing going. Yeah, it's a clean tie-up on there, too.
Thank you. For the first time.
Alright, so I will hand you these panels in no specific
Oh, we didn't
order.
do the. And let him figure it out. You're mean.
Are you talking about the how many zip ties I used? Because I couldn't really keep a good track when I was, you know. Some of them I had to cut away early.
Say what?
Yeah, we didn't do the zip tie game this time. We'll do it next week.
Yeah, we'll do it. No big deal.
Yeah, I was noticing that too. All right, so get that on there. Now this is also on a swivel door, yes or no?
Not this back panel. It just clicks on.
We're just gonna let him figure it out. Hayden over here just breaking stuff. Here we go.
Breaking
It's like, yeah, and? This is not a 2-in-1 build, Mighty Endeavor. By the way, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here. We got PlayStation Loco also. Okay. Yeah, the Hathor. That is a Hathor. That is correct.
Now, we did do a Hathor on Thursday with Zach. That thing was pretty sick. So you can definitely go
Yeah.
watch that if you're interested. Getting all the...
Lots of fun.
Looks pretty good.
Udrisi Wawaha? Wow. Okay. Yeah, so we're going to go back over the specs here in just a moment. One thing I like about this also is it's got that front corner glass panel. It doesn't have a support beam on it. It just meets right there edge to edge. Which
Yeah, that's one of
gives
those
it, again,
noticeable
gives it a
parts.
very clean look for that.
Mm-hmm.
Easy Tunes coming in hot with another sub high. Welcome, Easy Tunes. Good to have you. Happy to have you on the show, sir. Okay.
All right. There you go. That's
You
kind of
could.
rest. There you go.
You got your codes. Oh, Ivory. There we go. I always forget that as a command. I need to remember that.
Come back with it. There you go. There you go.
Get that all popped on there.
There we go.
This metal side panel kind of goes on, or not metal, this glass side panel goes on kind of like a traditional side panel. Just kind of funny, like
Yeah.
slides on with the 2 screws in the back. At the back. So.
You do the top one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. You do the top one and then the back.
Yeah.
So we'll
Oh,
rotate this around
got it.
and show this on the back. This heavy thing.
Turn that.
Good. I'll straighten it
Okay.
out.
And then, of course, once that gets on there, the coolest thing about this, which I'm still just absolutely amazed at, is that final back door, which, of course, hides all the cables. It hides your ports, and it's very, very well ventilated. If you can actually hold that up, Paul, people can see. You can see right through it. Like, that is how thin that is, but it looks so good. I can't see all of it, but I know it's there. There we go.
Yeah, it's
Get those
pretty cool.
final elements in place.
We've had some cases where the I/O shield is recessed in, and I haven't been like a super fan of them, but this one I like actually. This is the first one I like where the I/O shield is recessed in. You've got good fingers to mess with your cables there, and then easy access, because this door, once it's on, it just swivels open. So you don't actually have to take it off if you're just unplugging and plugging something in.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Good
Hayden,
stuff.
what are you doing to us?
That's an excellent question I was about to ask. What's up, buddy? What are you focusing on there?
I am trying to get this panel on without a little gap. There's a tiny gap, and if there's a little gap, then this top panel won't go on.
All right, get that top
Does
screw
the
down.
top
We've
go
got this
on
rear
and then
door to
this
put
one
on.
goes on?
No, the top goes on first.
Top goes on first, huh?
But getting
All
it
right.
to sit.
Yeah, the clean air of the I/O shield. There you go. Yeah, this is gonna look absolutely gorgeous once we light it all up. You're trying to see if you're doing the whole like, is the light bulb gonna stay on in the refrigerator trick, or?
Basically.
It's that little set screw.
This one right here.
Is this. That little. All right.
There we go.
I think that's because this isn't all the way down.
What?
You think
Who's
so?
tagging yourself? What are you guys experiencing at the moment? Walk me through it.
Top panel isn't fully going forward.
Okay.
And I think it's because of this. But everything is seemingly flush.
Everything seems to be in there pretty good.
But when I go to put this on, there's a tiny
Tiny gap.
gap. And I think that's why.
Okay.
Let's do one thing.
We're just gonna figure out a last couple pieces of things here, people. And of course, if you have any questions in the chat, make sure that you ask them, because we'll get those things answered as quickly as possible.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay, so we got to tighten down that hard drive storage tray there.
Oh, gotcha.
Let's
Okay.
see, still a gap.
Yeah, and there's still a gap. I don't know why.
Is it a smaller gap?
It's
Necro asks, does the dark side really have cookies?
Of course.
Technically, yes. They
Oh, I see.
are all fudge walnut.
Alright, I got you.
Fudge walnut, super ultra chocolate
Yeah,
that have a gooey center of evil. 'Cause that's what the dark side is all about.
Hater to the dark
See
side.
when that goes in.
There we go.
That's fine. You think it's this right now?
Mm-hmm.
What are you guys looking at?
So our fan controller boxes being together. See?
Oh, causes an issue.
Because
Oh, I think I might. Still a gap?
still a gap.
We'll get this eventually, people. Don't worry. We'll get it. Do, 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 do. Can you tell us a little bit what's going on there? What you're experiencing?
Same issue where there's a gap on this back panel, so putting the top panel on is making it harder to push.
Okay.
All right.
There we go.
There it is.
Ta-da! There we
I
go.
don't know. I
Look at
really
that.
don't know what that was.
I have no idea.
I don't know if there was
Well,
some stuff in
we'll
there.
just
It felt
call
like
it,
we moved a few things around, but yeah.
All right. Yeah, we would definitely want to show everybody how this looks because this is going to be
Yeah,
this is super cool.
we'll show that we're getting this door on the hinges, and then we'll show you guys the back here.
Put this thing on a Lazy Susan.
Pretty sure.
Top panel first.
Yeah. All that work.
Oh, that worked.
There you go.
Well, no, that was kind of right.
Hmm?
You have to have it open.
There we go.
Mm-hmm. Boom.
Possibly.
No, that's it. So we'll show you guys the back panel here. So this is the back of our PC, obviously, the long-awaited back panel. Thank you guys for bearing with us during that. And this is how this opens up. So you've got this
So
door
cool.
right here, and then you can see all of our motherboard I/O shield, all of our inputs right down there, all of our fingers that go up here, and our power cable will go there. So we'll go ahead and get this thing plugged in. If you want to rotate it around, Hayden.
All right, there it goes. We'll get that nice little rotation on there so y'all can see all the sides of it. Looks, that's looking good, guys. Dig it.
Sweet. Okay.
Is it? Slightly. All right. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that you do need to plug that in inside that back panel. So you've got to kind of loop it up and around and make sure that it closes. Put it into the right feed channels. Always excited when they get ready to turn it on. Exciting. This is going to be a lot of color on this machine.
All right.
Not only from the I/O shield, but uh-oh, she's been plugged in. Are we ready?
We good there, Jason? Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, look at it. It's so bright. Wow. Wow.
Man, look at it.
That will light up an entire room. Absolutely amazing. Let's go over it one more time what went into this absolutely incredible raw build featuring the brand new NV7 tower. This has an AMD Ryzen 7 7800X 3D processor that's mounted on an ASUS ROG Strix X670E A gaming Wi-Fi motherboard. It's got a total of 64 gigs of RAM thanks to our friends at Kingston with DDR5 5600 in that board, plus its graphics are all running on an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4090 24 gig card. The operating system has been installed on a 2TB Samsung 990 Pro NVMe M.2, and of course it has a 6TB 3.5-inch Western Digital Blue hard drive in the back for additional storage. The processor is cooled by a CLX Quench 360 closed-loop liquid cooler, and of course, it has, in addition to that, 12 game-dius AEOLUS M2 RGB fans that are all powered by a 1,000-watt Phanteks AMP Series 80 Plus gold power supply. So this, of course, is actually going back for testing. Speaking of testing, Paul, what happens with PCs, whether they are for testing intentionally or just going out to customers? Where do you take them? What do you do with them?
Yeah, so every machine we build here, whether it's a customer PC, a system we're sending to a show, a giveaway machine, anything we do here, once it gets built and powered on like this right here, goes into our testing and integration department. So the first thing we do there is get into the BIOS. We'll make sure our RAM speed is set correctly. Then we check to make sure all of our storage devices are showing up. Then there might be a few other settings depending on the OS that we need to adjust there. But after those BIOS settings are set, then we'll get into the loading of the OS, any games the customers want us to load. And then after that's been loaded, we'll stress test the system for 12 hours. So that allows us to catch any defect that may have come from the factory. I usually use RAM as an example. Maybe this RAM, you can see it's on and working now, but maybe in a gaming environment it fails. That allows us to catch it there, fix it, replace it here, put it through another stress test, and make sure we deliver a stable system.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is going to be it for part one of the show. Everybody keep in mind, this show comes in two different pieces. And when we come back from our break, Hayden is going to be walking you through some of his speedier builds and showing you exactly how fast he can do his thing. Don't forget, you can check out all the latest of what's happening with CLX at CLX Gaming on YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter. You can also check it out for the random codes that might get dropped. If you'd like to play the trivia games with Ivory and the smart people, all you got to do is head on over to our Discord, discord.gg/CLX Gaming. That is where you can, kind of hang out with everybody. If you have questions about stuff, you can ask them there. You can answer questions for codes, all of that. Plus, you can also grab codes over on my channel, DJ BluePDX. I'll be over there later on today, and I believe I will have a code for giveaway. In the meantime, don't forget !GiveLav here for you to get into that giveaway for that beautiful computer that's currently being blocked by this beautiful computer, but there's so many beautiful computers to look at, I'm not really complaining. So, therefore, on behalf of Jason and Kyle in production, Paul and Hayden, I'm DJ BluePDX. Thanks for watching, and don't go away. We've got more coming up right after the break. We'll be right back.
Bye. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.